here I am. You join me here in my kitchen dining room. Kitchen stroke into dining room. Open planned, etc. Can't go fishing today. Harpsdale's frozen over, which was, I kind of expected that to be the case anyway. We've had minus temperatures since, what are we on today? Thursday. So yeah, we've had it since about Monday, and it's going to drag on until next week as well. The temperatures are going to be up a wee bit by sort of Tuesday next week. You're looking at about sort of 5-6 degrees hopefully, and that still might leave the fishery frozen, because obviously when the fishery freezes over, it does take a wee while for that stuff to melt. But I thought I'd just do a quick gear review, which I've been meaning to do anyway, in regards to the Guideline Experience waste pack that I got before Christmas. I've only literally used it on about maybe 4 of my videos, and I've had some problems with it, and I've reached out to Uttings, who have been fantastic. This is a shout out to Simon in Uttings, by the way, because he's been stellar. I had a problem with the Guideline hip pack, which I'll come to in a second. I also want to kind of review a couple other little things. One of these, well, I've been using these for the last season now, but this is a different type of polyleader. This is the Airflow Polyleader Plus, so hopefully the camera can pick that up, which comes with a little sort of silicone tag on it. I'll show you a picture of it here, which shows you what length you've got. I've got an 8.5 foot full floating polyleader, and it comes with a tippet ring installed onto it, which again I'll show you a picture either here or here. I think it's been tied on with a Davy knot by the looks of it. Now, I was using polyleaders last year because Gordo got me into them, and they were good fun. They really do help turn your fly over, especially when you're dry fly fishing, which if you guys know, I do prefer my dry fly fishing, but obviously this time of year it's a bit sort of hard push to do that. So I was using them a lot last year on Sarklet, on Thrumpster locks, and also on the Dunnet Head locks. So if I was doing like single dry fly fishing, and sometimes if I was doing like a 2-fly rig, I'd still put a 5 foot polyleader on. But this, I'm going to use this 8.5. I've got 2 of these. They're tenner each. I got these from Angling Active in Stirling, who's another good company. Fantastic delivery, really quick. I mean, I'm up here in Caithness. If I put an order in from them, I've got it within 48 hours. I used to do Glasgow Angling. Their delivery is terrible. You're looking at 5 working days, and they're just about 20 minutes away from Glasgow Angling, yet they can do delivery in 2 days. So big up to Angling Active. So yeah, I'm going to use these this year. These particular ones apparently take a tippet up to 12 pound test and a length of between 3 and 8 foot. So you've got your 8.5 foot, and then you can put up till 8 foot extra of tippet on, which is good. So I can give you like a 16.5 foot cast. But when I'm going to use these, I'm going to primarily use these for like maybe a 15 foot cast, or possibly a 12 foot cast. I'll play around with these. These are actually quite good for using like stocking bugs on my local Stillwater, because there's parts of that Stillwater that are really shallow, and from experience fishing with like a midge tip line, you're hitting bottom pretty much straight away. Well, these like Deaver stocking bugs that I got from Martin Williams, and the other stocking bugs I got from Fulling Mill and stuff. If you fish with one of these at 8.5 foot straight floating, and say you put like a 4 foot or a 5 foot bit of tippet on the end of it, that polyleader is going to sit flush in the water, and it's just that little bit that's just going to be under the water, and you can tweak that along without the whole midge tip scenario of just going all the way down. You're dragging through weeds and whatnot. So that's a good little method I'm going to try when I get out to Harpsdale. I'll put one of these on, a single stocking bug, or maybe like a 4 or 5 foot bit of tippet on the end of that tippet ring, so it just fishes just like that, you know. So we'll give that a bash. So that's something I'm going to try out. I've tried using tippet rings before. My eyes are terrible. I can barely bloody see them. I've tried that technique with the little forceps job, and that doesn't work. So those come pre-installed. They're a little bit more expensive than the original ones, but we'll use them. Also show you a wee picture. I got myself a new mod for my GoPro Hero 9 Black. I got the media mod. Comes with a built-in wind protected microphone, and you can alter it between front and back microphone. It's also got ports where you can plug in an LED light, which I'm going to purchase next, where you can clip. You've got these little what you call it, cold shoe mounts on the top and left of the actual casing, So you can have like an LED mount on the top or on the side, or an LCD screen, or you've got an option to put an extra external mic on. They've got little ports in the back where you can charge it, where you can plug in an extra microphone, and that's pretty handy. Like, and I've also got the new 3-way GoPro tripod. Again, I'll show you a picture here somewhere of what it looks like. It's a kind of cool little setup. And also, yeah, I want to quickly chat about my Orvis Clearwater 4-wheel. Now, I got this back in November of last year. Or beg your pardon, was it December last year? I've only had it a couple of months. It's not a bad reel for a die-cast aluminium reel. It's pretty good going. My only sort of gripe is I've only used this out on 4 or 5 of my trips out to Harpstill, and I've already put a bit of gravel rash on it here. Now, I don't know if you can see that there. I'll show you a picture of what I've observed. I'm a bit of a stickler for looking after my kit, and I always try to make sure that when I'm fishing, if I'm setting my rod down, I'm either setting it down on grass, or I'm setting it on a bit of reeds or a bit of bush or whatever, to make sure I protect it. I think what's happened is when I've been fishing off that platform that you've seen me on my last video there, it's got a metal grate sort of mesh for your, obviously for gripping your feet on. And I think when I put a reel down, I've obviously scuffed it. Now the problem is, obviously, with die cast aluminium reels, they're going to be more prone to little scuffs and chips than your bog standard CNC bar stock aluminium reels, which I've got as well in my fishing arsenal. And the worst you'll get from them is maybe a couple of wee scratches, but you won't get so much chips because they're more solid, and these are more molded, But yeah, it's not a bad wee reel actually. It's very silent retrieve. You can hear that there, and a decent drag in it. It's quite quiet. I just re-lubed it recently, so that's as loud as it's going to get. I did notice the other week when I was playing with it, I thought, I'm going to have a look at the components. The components are very easy to take apart. You take the spool off, you can pop this thing off, and then you can actually pop the main rule-on bitty off here. And I've just lubed underneath there, and lubed it in about here, and there, and inside here. And it's just kind of quieting everything down a little bit. But I did notice it was quite dry. Even though Orvis say that they've got your reel already pre-lubed, I found that it wasn't that well lubed actually. It was pretty dry, and I obviously don't want to wear out the mechanism, so I used that Loon reel lube stuff on it, and it's a nice silent drag, and it's quite a responsive click drag here. I mean, obviously you don't want to have it on the slackest setting, because you'll bird's nest yourself if you get one of those fish off a Harpstill on that setting. So what I tend to do is I tend to go 1 full click and a quarter, and that's it. Perfect. You'll never get a bird's nest if one of that Harpstill Fit Rainbows strips line off your reel. So that's a decent little reel. That it didn't break the bank. I think it cost me 120 quid. I got it from Angling Active. My only gripe, like I say, is I've managed to put a wee bit of gravel rash in it already. I'm sure the more I take it out fishing, the more gravel rash I'm going to get. Anyway, so let's get to what I was wanting to talk about. The Guideline hip, the Guideline waist pack. This is what I had a problem with. So I bought this a couple of months ago, before Christmas. It's only been out on 4 trips. On my second trip, it came off the pack. Now I'm going to show you a picture here. It's got these little clips on it, which are meant to thread onto a rail system, on a rack system that they've got. Now, sounds easy, yeah. On my second trip out, this pack became attached from this belt. Now, this is a good little lumbar support. And it's got this sort of wire mesh along, so it's like a wire sort of, yeah, but a wire sort of tube underneath sort of a nylon mesh, right? But the problem was, I don't know if you can see that here, I'll show you a picture. After the first time it came off my belt, I tried to thread it back on, but there wasn't a biting point where you could actually thread one of these clips through. And after a couple of goes, I'm really trying to get this thing on, I ripped the piping through the nylon. There was no biting point for it to just hook on like a zip and then thread it through. And I spoke to Simon in Uttings, and I said, look, I've only just had this, I've only taken it out on a couple of trips, it's come off my pouch, off my waist belt twice already. Third time I tried putting it on, I've ended up damaging, it's just ripped this. I says, not very impressed for the money that I paid for it. So he was good enough to contact Guideline, and Guideline saw my pictures and my descriptions of what the problem was, and Simon told me that Guideline were going to send them the latest version, which is the Waist Pack 6. which is their latest and greatest hit pack. And I've got obviously that free of charge. I don't need to send this back, I can keep this. Don't know what I'm going to use this for. It could be something I could use. I could maybe try and see if there's any way I can salvage that. I honestly don't know. You'll see in the picture there, it's torn to shreds here. It just came apart really quickly. The first time I tried threading this on, the nylon started, the nylon casing over the rib here started to wear, and I thought that's not good. This is meant to be a quick, easy on and off system. I don't even try. We're going to be finicky here. You're meant to try and hook this thing through here and thread it through the clip. It's not as simple as that, because the material, the nylon mesh, catches and you cannot thread it through. So that's what obviously caused the damage there. I'll maybe tinker with it at some point and see if I can try and salvage it, but at the end of the day, I'm quite happy that Uttings have sent me this new waist pack, which I'm going to show you here. This is the new one. This is their latest and greatest. Exactly the same belt as their previous model. It's got a foam lumbar support. Now, I don't know if you are anything like myself, I have terrible lower back issues. I used to do a lot of strength training until a couple of years ago when I really shafted my lower back. I've got a couple of herniated discs on my lumbar area, so I need something like this that molds into your back. And one of the reasons why you see me sitting down on my videos when I'm netting fish is that really does help my back. Rather than standing up and trying to release a fish by bending right over, I've done my back many times doing that, and it's sheer agony. So that's one of the reasons why I like to sit down when I'm playing at the fish. It's a lot more comfortable for me, and it's a lot easier for me to get into the water, into the net with the fish, get a quick photograph and slip it back off again. So this waistcoat is good. Waist belt is just exactly the same belt, and I was hoping for a different racking system, but it looks like they've adopted the exact same original racking system as the one I've just shown you, albeit there's only 2 clips here rather than 3, and it's got the same rail, but it actually feels it feels like a tougher nylon material than the one that was on the other belt there. Still the same sort of rib, but what I've noticed is this is a little rod clip, which I'm never going to use because I've got my GoPro for that. They've actually created a bit more gap between, see, I don't know if you guys can see it, from the edge of the rib, the metal sort of, not the metal, but the sort of solid plastic ribbing here to the end of the material, there's a lip here which that belt didn't have. So if this pack, which is designed to come on and off at your own leisure, you can squeeze it like this and get that biting point into the clip and then slide it through. Now I'm hoping that when I go fishing with this, it won't happen. I don't know if you can see it there, guys. It's designed to slide, right? But I do not want it sliding off. So I think what I'll do is I'll clip on the little rod holder here, so that stops it in its tracks. But that's the purpose of their system. So you can put it on your waist and you just slide it around at your leisure. Decent sized pockets in the back here. You know, you can put a good 3 or 4 good sized fly boxes in there. Little pouches for your tippets, your scales, your lunch, even your GoPro microphone if you want. Another front pouch here, decent enough size for your smaller dry fly boxes, and again more sort of pouches to put your tools in, anything you want really, ginks or zincs or whatnot. Front pouches here, again you can put tippet material in there should you wish. It's also got, well, it's meant to have, it's got these little mesh pockets on the side here where I suppose you could fit a bottle in, but they have to be quite a small bottle because it doesn't really stretch out that much. Whereas on that one, on the previous one here, it's got a decent sized pocket where you can put a bottle of juice when you're fishing, just slides in there perfectly. That's the only sort of down thing about this one. The side mesh pockets are pretty narrow. So yeah, that's my only gripe about this one. But here, I got it free, so I'm not going to bitch about it too much. So yeah, it's just a couple of insulated pockets here. And then there's a little bit here where you can slide in your forceps if you want. There doesn't seem to be things like little zingers. That's the other thing. I mean, I quite like the zingers on the original. You know, you can put your forceps on them, or your clippers, your dippers, or whatever. You know, but no, that doesn't have that system installed. But you can still throw your stuff in there anyway. So yeah, we'll give this a bash and we'll see how we get on with it. So I don't know when I'm going to get back out fishing again. Hopefully next week. Just depends on when this Mr. Frost buggers off. I was speaking to Sandra, who's one of the co-owners of Harpsdale. Alan and Sandra are good pals of mine, and we're hoping next week's going to be a lot better to go out, because when that temperature increases to about 5 or 6 degrees, it should hopefully start to shift that ice, and if we do get a bit of a breeze on the go, that'll help move it and melt it faster. So I really am fancying getting it next week. How am I going to cope not fishing this weekend? We can only hope and see what the crack is at the weekend. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of my sort of review of what I'm using at the moment, sort of thing. And just look out for the next video, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio for now.